Wow, listen to this thing. I don't know what it sounds like, but you guys might be able to hear it fairly well because it's just coming through the microphone. I don't have the DI thing going with it today, the way I'm hooked up here. Anyway, Danelectro baritone. This showed up this week. How long that neck is. Tuned down to B. I love it. I love writing on these because you can just play it like a guitar and fun. I'm gonna get lots of use out of this thing. I know it, and it's got a cool trem. It's like a Wilkinson trem on it. So anyway, fun. I know I'll play this a lot. So Danelectro, you rule. What else showed up this week? You know what showed up this week? A nice little care package from Ernie Ball. Christmas situation. Sent me a nice box with some strings and with this coffee mug and with some Colombian coffee, which I'm gonna drink now with you guys. What's up? How are y'all? We got 42 people online. Good morning to you. Been a busy week. I'm moving out of here pretty soon and to a new home. And besides that, I'm finishing up my studio. So the studio is almost done. If you guys follow me on Instagram and stuff, it's lots of pictures on there and stuff. So I'm going to be making a whole video about the studio build because I've just been taking like iPhone footage as I go along as it's getting built. So I'm super stoked to get in there and it looks great. And I'm just really excited about it. Anyway, let's get into it. So Chris has a great question here. When miking an amp, how would you recommend placing the room mic in order to avoid phasing? Well, you're always going to get some phasing because that room mic is going to be back from the close mics, obviously, and the sound's going to get there later. So it's just more a question of finding phasing that's pleasing. Sometimes what I've been doing actually in the place that I've been in, like where I did a few guitar tracks on my record like this, but I'll put a room mic way away, like in the hallway and facing the wall, like so it's facing away from the amp. And then it seems to be all you get is room sound. There's no direct. When you blend it in, it's so ambient that it just doesn't really seem to affect the close mics that much. So it works really well. Like if you've got a long hallway somewhere close to where you record, try putting the mic like around the corner from wherever the amp is in the hallway and facing down the hall, facing away. And that to me has worked really good. But other than that, it's really, sometimes you might get a pleasing phasing, you know, where you pull it in and you're like, oh, wow, it's actually like doing this kind of like slightly hollow thing, but I like it like in a Jimmy Page sort of way or whatever, kind of an interesting sound. So anyway, that's a great question. Good way to start. Gonna move down in the chat here. It's kind of acting funny. Why is this chat? Just a second here. Let me figure out what's going on. There we go. Now I can move it and see what's happening. Greetings from Norway. We've got Norway in the house. That's awesome. Greetings from Minnesota. Greetings from Utopia. I like that. And somebody said, is that Jersey? That's awesome. What's my favorite condenser mic? It depends on the application. If like the condenser mics I have, and let me know if you guys, if it's a little too quiet, I'll turn up this mic a little bit. I had it down because I'm going to switch it to cardioid actually. One sec, this might pop or something. Sorry about that if it did. Favorite condenser mic, sorry. I've got a MA200 from Mojave that I really love. It's a tube mic. And I'll tell you, when that mic came out, an engineer friend recommended it to me. And I remember Chris Cornell was looking for mics at one point, and he had an old U67. He just wanted something else. And I said, I don't know. I said, check out this Mojave mic that my friend Steve, who's a really great recording engineer, used to work for Glenn Johns and stuff. And he seems to really like it. And it's not that much money. So Chris bought one, and he loved it. He thought it was just a little more hi-fi sounding than the U67, but totally comparable, and he used to use it all the time. So that's a pretty good endorsement for a vocal mic, I think. So then I bought one, and it works really good. It's got a really you know, refined, silky kind of top end, like kind of almost hyped top end, but in a nice, pleasing way. So it works nice on acoustic guitar. I used it on my record a lot on the acoustic guitar parts, and it's a nice vocal mic. Other condenser microphones, like for acoustic guitar, I really like small diaphragm condensers. There's a mic called a Neumann Cam 184 that I really like and have used a lot. A lot of people love the original Neumann Cam 84s, and I haven't used those that much. But the 184 is one that's available now, and I think they're about $700 each. You can get match pairs too for, like, you know, whatever, 14. That's a really, really great sounding mic for acoustic guitar, and you can use it on overheads or piano or whatever. What else for condensers? The one that I use a lot around the studio for room, somebody was just asking about, you know, the room mic and guitar, is this Sterling Audio one that's an inexpensive guitar center mic. You know, I think they're a couple $100. It's a large diaphragm. It's not exceptionally, it's kind of flat sounding. It doesn't really have like a lot of character. But it works great for a good all-purpose. Those Sterling mics are really nice. They kind of hit it out of the park on those, I think. David says, thoughts on Synergy modules plus 2 notes cab as an alternative to Kemper Helix Axe effects. Let's see. Try, I got peanut butter. It's gross. I was eating peanut butter and bread. It's nasty. Thoughts on Synergy modules plus 2 notes cab as an alternative to Kemper Helix. Okay. I guess you could do that. Yeah, I mean, the Synergy stuff's really cool. I kind of, I'm sort of not really into the whole idea of like a preamp with no power section, because I feel like the power section is such an important part of the sound. So it's like just using a module. I don't think that's the way I would go, but you can do that with them, right? I mean, they've got like their rack mount kind of like 2-space or 1-space units that you can put a module in. It's got a built-in analog cab sim, and then you could add a digital cab sim. You're going to be missing out on, you know, EL34s or 6L6s or EL84s or whatever the power tube sort of component is that. By the way, this is for David. He's in the top chat. So thank you, David. So you're talking about live rig and for recording. You know, I just feel like the power component of an amp. I tried some of the Synergy amps. I tried the one I actually really only the one I can comment on that I liked, because it's the only one I really spent time with, was the 30-watt one. It's a dual EL34. I think it's a cathode bias. It's got a clean channel and then a slot for one module. It sounded really good. I tried it with a few different modules. I really liked the Plexi module in there. So it had a nice clean channel, and then the Plexi module seemed like a great gigging amp. Not sure if there's a recording out on those heads or not. Some way you could record with it. But anyway, that sounded really good to me. I like that. But you know, to be honest, for me, just me personally, I always like there to be some sort of power amp component involved. I don't like the idea of just going direct with like a preamp and trying to get all the tone out of that, if that makes sense. Let's see here. Melkon says, when are you going to do a demo for the Suhr reactive load? He said it in the largest letters, so I saw it clearly. I have it sitting right here. I'm going to do one soon. I've been once again getting the studio together and going to Home Depot 400 times because of that, and I'm also buying the place. And so my video output's been slow. I've got a video coming out for the Ethos TWE pedal, which is sitting right here. Really nice pedal. That's going to come out either tomorrow or Tuesday. And then my flow, once I get into this new studio, it's going to increase a lot because I'm going to have the new room and stuff and just be, you know, kicking ass. So it was my goal to get something done on this thing now, but I just haven't had time to knock it out yet. So, but anyway, here it is. So we're having a whole debate this morning on the gear page about the outputs on this thing, which are 1/4-inch TRS style outputs, right? And somebody was like, why didn't you put XLRs on it? And it was for a few different reasons, really. XLRs can be confusing, I think, for a lot of people. And the other thing that is noticed is that the Ox has 1/4-inch TRS outs. All the 2 Notes products, like the Live, I don't know about all, but the 2 Notes Torpedo Live, which is really popular, as well as the Torpedo Cab, is 1/4-inch balanced outs that you can also run end balance. So that was a big part of it. It was like, this thing's going to be used a lot by guitar players. And you can, of course, get a balanced cable, balanced TRS to male XLR, or a or just a TRS to TRS style cable and run it out of these, and you're balanced. You could plug right into a snake. You know, most snakes in the live setting or in the studio will have 1/4 inch inputs, as well as XLR. You know, generally some of them have like, you know, 4 1/4 inch ins, and then like 16, you know, different things like that. So you're not gonna have any problems like with interfacing this thing with anything. Just some people seem to prefer the idea of having the XLR jack, but all the competitors use this too. And the great thing about it is that you can just plug in a guitar cable, you know, and then you can come out of this into a high Z input on a recording interface, or you could come out of this into a DI if you wanted to. There's no need to, though. You can come right out of it into, I mean, I would use a DI if all I had was a guitar cable, because then it's going to be unbalanced. And then you're going to want to go into a DI. But if you got a balanced TRS to TRS or a balanced TRS to XLR, just use these outputs and it's going to work great. And you can drive, you know, 100 feet of cable, no problem with it, and plug it into the PA recording interface or whatever. So if anybody's got any questions on this thing, just ask them in there and I can answer them, hopefully. It's got this great sounding headphone amp in it too. That's super cool. Some people might be wondering about this switch too, the high cut. It's got this high cut switch on it. And the reason that John put that on there is because what we realize is some people, if you are going to use this thing to reamp, so like you're going to plug a tube amp into it, bring it down to line level, and then maybe you want to come out of it into a tube power amp, maybe like the effect return of, you know, whatever you've got, you're going to kind of get a double impedance effect then, because the tube amp you're plugging into is going to have you know, a reactive quality to it with the cabinet. So what this does is it trims down the high rise portion of the reactive load that's accurately mimicking the impedance curve, and it'll just take the edge off so that it sounds a little bit more like what you're going to expect, I think, if you want to use the thing for reamping into a tube power amp of some sort that's not flat with no impedance curve. If you're reamping into a solid state power amp, like something like a Matrix or something, you'd probably leave this up, I would think. So it just gives you options as far as voicing. What's that? Essentially, it sounds like the original reactive load. If you've used the original reactive load with IRs of any kind, that's kind of the gist of it. But I will do a video. Surf by says new home and studio crazy. Yeah, I know, it's bonkers. It's kind of a lot to tackle in 1 month, but I did it. And every day is like really slammed right now. I have to leave from here and actually go meet painters at my new home. They're just finishing up. What guitar cables do I use? Says, God, I gotta get my contacts checked. It's so hard for me to read. And that's Shaw Marie. I use Providence cables a lot. I also got some of these David Labagoda, I think is how you pronounce the cables from Poland. I picked up some of those and they're really cool. And basically it's like those and a lot of Providence. Like my whole pedal board is done with Providence. I really like them a lot. I like the sound, but I also like the small ends they use like for pedal boards and stuff. So those work really well. To be honest, I'm not that picky, having said all that, about cables. Two Notes Cab has power amp simulation, says David Johnson. This is David's up in the top chat. And he says, should that cover power amp feel for use with Synergy module? Ah, you're right. It does have that. And yes, I would try that. Forgot about that. The Two Notes units have the power amp. So yeah, maybe that would sound good. I think I tried that when I did it with the Egnator preamp. You know, if you want to kind of hear the idea, now that I'm remembering, I did a video, this is 5-6 years ago, of the Torpedo Cab. And I think I used the power amp simulations in the cab when I used my Egnator preamp to run into the Torpedo Cab. So you could listen to that and probably get a pretty good idea of what it would sound like. Thank you for reminding me of that. I totally forgot that it had those power amp sims in it. Yeah, so that's what I would do. And then it'd probably be pretty cool. You'll really notice a difference too, turning on the power amp sims in the. I think I like the 6L6 one in the Torpedo Cab. The L34 one sounded odd to me. I remember that. But the KT88 and the 6L6 one sounded really pretty cool. They added this cool thing to the tone. Okay, can I talk a little bit? Well, talk a little bit about the Suhr reactive load IR, says Derek. I kind of did, I guess, already, but would I consider it to be a less frills version of the Ox? Yes, basically. Yeah, the Ox is great. As you guys know, I got one sitting right here. So there's the Ox and reactive load. So yeah, it's essentially the UA did a beautiful job on the Ox. It's incredible, and with all the the great integration with the iPad and the effects are awesome. And I love that thing. I use the Ox all the time, but it's $1,200 or $1,300, so it's in a completely different class, I would say, as far as the price goes. Suhr has, first of all, the reactive load in the Suhr is second to none. I think it's exceptional, and it really nails the load portion of the equation is completely dialed in the Suhr box. What the UA is giving you is all this other things that you may want or need or not. So I love using it. It's great. I love using the reactive load too. The reactive load to me is going to be great for somebody that, first of all, A, doesn't want to spend that much money, and B, just wants to kind of get some great cabinet sounds and then not think about it that much. So like you don't even need to use it with a computer, for example, whereas the Ox is kind of like, I wouldn't get an Ox if I didn't have a computer. Yes, you can use it as an attenuator only. That's true. You could, there's a number of different ways you can use it, but it's not really something that you're going to want to use without a Mac. You got to use it with a Mac too, right? So, and the iPad wasn't, when I got the Ox, I just went, well, I'm not getting this thing and not getting an iPad, because that's the coolest thing about it, is having that integration. So I bought an iPad. So that was a big expense. So it's kind of just a different thing. The Suhr is like, it comes loaded with cabs already that sound great. There's probably one in there for everybody with the 16 hours that are loaded. There's all kinds of open back 112 all the way through to closed back 412 with greenbacks, V30s, V-types, all that stuff. There's going to be a cab in there that sounds good to most people, I would think. The Celestion IRs that they did for Suhr. Yes, Suhr actually shipped their cabinets to Celestion, and they loaded them up with the speakers. And so they're actual Suhr cabinets that were sent out there. And so all the IRs are custom in the thing. Anyway, I would just say that, you could get this thing, the reactive load, and not have to do anything. You don't even need a computer with it. You can just take it, you plug it into a little powered speaker, QSC monitor or Yamaha, or even like a little studio monitor, or even like John the other day was in the office playing through his Bose system. Just take the output out of it, plug it right into whatever you've got, and you can just jam with your 100-watt Marshall or whatever you've got at at like computer speaker volume. And that's the beauty of this thing, is that it's compact too. It's smaller than the Ox and stuff. And it's like, it's super small, but it's, tuck this thing in a backpack or whatever and take it to either the gig or whatever, and you got your head and that's it. If you're going to, it's somebody that's going to sessions or, a club gig or church gig or something like that, where you can't have any volume, and you just want to take this set and forget, and you got a cabinet in there you like, plug it into the PA and go. You don't need anything else. There's nothing to it. A lot of the time it's like, I think that most people, like with miking cabinets, when I had my my studio kind of 2010 through 2013 was in a little house. And I don't know if you guys remember those videos I did for like the Carl Martin Plexitone or like things like that. It was all in that little place. And I was mostly miking back then. And I had a 112 Bogner cabinet in a closet with mics on it that I never, ever touched. It was very rare I went in there and moved those mics and did anything else. It was that cabinet, and that's what I used for everything, with that mic position. And most of my friends with home studio setups were like that. I think Sean Tubbs is like that for a long time. I don't know about now. He might have a different setup. I think he just cabinet in a closet. I think, my buddy Greg Saran, the same deal here in LA. He plays with B-52s now. He had a cabinet in the closet, Bogner cabinet, same one I had, I think, with mics on it, 57 and a Royer, and you just leave it. You get the mics where you want it. And that's the way that most people operate. And once you get a good sound, it's like, there it is. And you don't think about it anymore, right? And that's kind of the thing I think with this thing, is that it's like, you're going to get your 16 cabinet choices instead of just one. And you're going to load it up, pick the best ones, put them in there. And then beyond that, it's like, when I want the sound of a greenback that's mic'd just the way I like it, I don't really deviate from that. It's like, if I want to get a different sound, it's not really through, moving a mic back an inch, or like once I find the magic spot for the mic cab sound, I don't really want to change that. So that's the equivalent of like putting an IR in there that you really like with that one mic position. I hope that makes sense. And so that's what I think, people that just, they can pick 16 of the ones they want, 112s all the way through to 412s or whatever, load them up in there. And, even put an acoustic one in there for plugging a piezo acoustic guitar. I guess you can't do that because it doesn't have a line input. I was trying to think out of the box, but can't really do that with this thing. But you know what I'm saying? Just you could put the ones in there that you're going to use, load it up with those, and set and forget, use it to practice, use it to record, use it at your gigs. And that's it, kind of. Somebody's up in the, Steve's up in the top chat. Thank you, Steve. And he says, happy holidays, and thanks for your contributions to the guitar community. Thank you. You're the best. Thank you, Steve. Appreciate that. Yeah. Enrique says the studio looks great. Thank you. Yeah, come along. I'm really happy with it so far. We'll see what it sounds like when I hook up some speakers in there and stuff, but I think it's going to be great. Okay, moving down. I'm taking forever, aren't I? A long time on each question. In my opinion, does a band like Guns N' Roses make money on putting out a new album nowadays? Is the band paying for it, or record label? They probably do, but the reality is most of the money these days is coming from ticket sales and merch. So something like GNR is pretty huge, but the record sales, just the kind of income that's coming from streaming, it's just plummeted. So now most bands go on the road, sell tickets for a lot of money. That's why, you go and see a show and it's, it used to be, $12.95, and now it's like $300 for a couple of tickets or whatever to go see, go see Paul McCartney or something. It's just like $500. By the time you get a couple tickets and park and everything, that's where the money is. So, yeah, Guns N' Roses making some money off the, well, then again, when you're talking about an album that takes 10 years to record and they probably spent $5 million on or something, I'm making that up. I'm pulling that out of the air, that figure, but I think that was probably a money loser. Greetings from a fellow Canadian, says Chris, just wondering what I thought about attenuators versus putting a master volume in your amp. Some really good questions today. Think about putting a master volume in my 59 Bassman reissue. So it depends on the amp, and I would ask a good tech about something like that. A 59 Bassman reissue, I would probably say it's got to be a post-phase inverter master for sure. So it depends on it depends on the master, and depends on the quality of the master greatly and where it is in the circuit. I would ask somebody like George Metropolis that question probably. What would that sound like in a 59 Bassman? It's similar to putting probably a post-phase inverter master in a JTM 45. I've never heard of anybody doing it in a 410 Bassman reissue. I don't see why not, though. Probably be cool. If it's the right master and it's done right, and it really has to be done right, and with the right pot and stuff. Like the pot John uses on the SL68 and 67 is really expensive. It's like $15 or something cost, which is a lot, like as opposed to 80 cents for whatever. It's a really expensive pot. So you want somebody who knows what they're doing. Somebody like George would be able to do a great job on something like that, and give you a solid answer. Or Friedman, ask Friedman about that, about putting a master like that. But now you're asking about attenuation too. So much easier to get. You're going to spend money on that master. It would be much easier to get something like a power station from Fryette. And I don't know if the 59 Bassman has an external speaker jack or not, but if it didn't, that would be an easy mod. And then you could just run out of the thing out of the speaker jack into the power station, and then you'd have an effects loop too, right? Which is really cool. You can put effects loop in the power station. You could run some post effects on your Bassman. That'd be neat. So generally speaking, those things work great. Those power station units. And should be actually probably pretty similar. I mean, it's a 2606 tube power section, just like a Bassman. So let's see, what's your favorite gainy Lunchbox amp? Say less than 20 watts. Wait till next month. Something's coming next month for a smaller amp that's gainy. Let's see. Currently available ones. I haven't actually tried a ton of them. That Mark Tremonti one looks really cool. I heard it a little bit at GitCon. That's kind of neat, I would say. I think it's PRS, right? Can I comment on the difference between the Thornbucker Plus and uncovered Thornbucker Plus? Oh, covered and uncovered. The covers that we use on a Thornbucker are the nickel, and it's almost indistinguishable. I mean, it's pretty much indistinguishable having it covered or uncovered, and that's the thing with the nickel silver. If you opt for a chrome cover, it changes the tone a bit, and if you opt for gold, it really changes the tone, I think. But we decided to. Well, they decided, actually. They didn't ask me. But they just said, oh, by the way, we're selling gold covers now. And I was like, that's fine. Just know that if you get a gold cover on those pickups, it does change the tone. It substantially will darken it a little bit. Substantially a little bit. I don't know. But we found with the nickel covers, it was barely any difference at all. Like to the point where it's like, I'm like, I don't care. Just go with whatever you want for the look. Let's see. Captain Sexy is in the live chat. Top chat. That's what I meant. And he says, I just bought a Suhr Bella and I'm looking for a good distortion pedal. Any tips? Well, the first one that came to mind is the Riot because it works great with that. But there's many good ones. I'll give you a good example. Here's one right here. I'm doing a video for this thing right now. I have to unhook it from my pedal vise. TWE1 from Ethos. This is a nice pedal. It's got all these voicing switches on it. You can see it's got all my settings on it because this is on my pedal board. And the voicing switches allow you to really easily dial it in for just about any amp. This is supposed to emulate kind of a train wreck. I assume a train wreck express kind of amplifier. And it to me, it's sort of, 50 watt Marshall, like a little softer, a little more like not real compressed, but it's not like super bold and high headroom. It's more like that slightly softer 50 watt. Like by soft, I mean the attack is a little more compact sound, but really great sounding. I like the Bogner pedals a lot. The blue, kind of great for a low gain plexi kind of thing. The Lagrange is great too. So there's some good ones. I would say Lagrange, Bogner blue, this thing, Suhr Riot. I like that little Brute Drive 2 that I did a demo of from EWS, I think the company is. Is that right? Am I saying it right? Nice pedals, nice distortions right there. Even the new Metal Zone. I did a video of that. It sounds great. The custom mode on it, if you want to play metal, sounds killer. Much different sounding than I don't like the original very much at all. Okay. Hello from Argentina, says Diego. What's up, Argentina? Hope you're good. Okay, moving down. Hello from Thailand. Jim's here from Thailand. What's up? We got the Netherlands in the house. Hello from Long Beach. Being a seasoned player, what are the things you practice? I don't know how seasoned I am, but certainly seasoned in age. When I practice, I generally have something to do, like a song to learn or I've got a goal. So most of the time it's me sitting down learning something or writing a track, or I need to come up with a solo for something, and I just really love the times where I'm just get inspired by watching somebody play and I sit down and learn something that has nothing to do with any of that. So I do love that. But the thing that I've gotten the most of in the last couple of years, as far as practicing things that I don't know, is the Jam Track Central lessons, because they're easy to digest and our attention span is I'm so all over the map these days. Everybody's just trying to earn a living and get work done and all that stuff. There's something about the Jam Track Central lessons that I really like, because they're like kind of compact. You can buy those $5 ones or like the whole courses, but I like the way they're, I'll just open up the Mateus one or the Laurie's that she did on fingerstyle soloing. She's got a cool one, really cool one that's just got great licks in it. I mean, you don't have to copy her finger technique. You use a pick if you want to, but the licks and the phrasing and stuff are so great. And I can sit down for 20 minutes with one of those and just pick up something that I didn't do before, some kind of phrase or something. And so that works good for me. I like those a lot. Check out the Jam Track Central ones. I have a few up there that I made for them years ago. It's probably time to do another one, actually. Let's see. Scott says he's heading from Mary to Florida to play a few gigs over the holidays, thinking my PRS CE with coil tap is the most versatile, so locking tuners. Yeah, those. I used to have one of those. the 24 fret with 2 humbuckers and tremolo, and it was a very versatile guitar. I don't know if it exactly duped or copied any one sound, but oh, by the way, I already mentioned, but I got this mug from Ernie Ball. Thanks, Ernie Ball. You guys rule. And the coffee's good too. It's like Colombian kind of medium roast. It's pretty slamming. Well, usually a dark roast guy, because the medium roast has that kind of little more acidity and kind of, but it's kind of chocolatey and sweet and wonderful, actually. Thanks, Ernie Ball. You rule. Chuck says, greetings from the road. What's up, Chuck? Where are you? Be careful out there. Be safe. If I use an old school Buddha wah with my Fox Rocks fuzz, will I have issues? I don't know. That's a good question. It depends. Run it probably after. I don't know. Maybe it goes before the fuzz. Yeah, I'm not sure. It's a good question. You got to try stuff like that, because things like fuzzes are so finicky. You just need to try it in your rig and see, fuzzes and wahs, and whether or not you can buffer and where to put the buffer. Just depends. My guess is the Fox Rocks fuzz is probably kind of a silicon style, not a problem with buffers or no buffers, Hello from Claremont, California. That's Richard. I like Claremont. It's got the you guys ever been to Claremont, California? There's a great music store out there that I believe Ben Harper's parents owned or own. If it's still there, it was called the Claremont Music Center or something. These like guitars and stuff, but also like cool hand drums and kind of ethnic instruments, all kinds of, and a really interesting music store. That's a nice town. I like Claremont. Let's see, Vancouver Island. Brett's in the house from Vancouver Island. I swear you had a short vid of a Danelectro 12-string electric. Can't find it. Looking for a 12-string guitar. I used the Danelectro 12-string on my Eddie Van Halen chorus video, because Eddie played Secrets on a 12-string, and so I used it in that, and yeah, and I love that thing. And I love the baritone. Do you guys see, if anybody's coming in now? Wait a sec here. Oh, let's pull up the baritone. This thing sounds luxurious. Love it. Stuff like that. I haven't been playing guitar all week because I'm not making excuses, but I actually haven't, because I've been going to Home Depot 45 times and stuff. I feel like rusty, but it always feels good. I kind of like not playing guitar sometimes, actually, and then coming back to it. It's just like, that sounds good, and the ideas are there, and it's fresh, and it's like I don't have the facility, and it comes back within a day or two generally practicing. I can't play as fast or whatever, but it's like just really fresh. It feels fresh. I like it. Let's see. Do you recommend the EVH 5150 overdrive? Yeah, I quite like it. I did videos for it, and it's really good. I think it does that sound great. And, it was designed by George Trips, and he's awesome. So that dude knows his pedals. Can't go wrong. It does sound, it's a really good pedal. I should have mentioned that when we brought up distortions. It's the 5150 overdrive is great. I mean, I love the kind of lower gain. I thought I could kind of get really close to his tone when I did the video for that that pedal. So, I think it's really good sounding. Dano says, I just got a Boss CE2 chorus black label. Sounds pretty good. Those are cool. Do you use or what chorus do you prefer? So I have one of those tri-choruses, that the full tone, that rack chorus, So I'm going to hook that up in the new studio and have it on my patch bass, that if I want to get crazy stereo chorus, lush and beautiful, I can do that. So I have one of those. I'm spoiled. Pedal chorus. If I was going to do chorus and a pedal, I would just probably, I've got my Mobius on my board and I like that. And I would just do a CE2 kind of thing in mono with it. I like kind of still chorus too, like detune. So the H3000 sort of thing on the H9 is nice to me. And I could do that in stereo. So I would either use the Strymon in front to do a kind of a mono thing. Or the detune. Okay, Old Style Guitar says he has a demo of that on his channel somewhere, the 5150. Yeah, I do. Ever tried playing an oud? I have not tried playing an oud. Let's see. Can I talk a bit about the amp switcher I'll be using in the new studio? Yes, that's Chris Lee. So it's made by a guy named Pete from Germany, and it's called Ampete is his company. And I said Ampet in the, like a moron, in the demo video I did originally for it, which was years ago. But he was making a 4x4 switcher then, which means you could plug 4 amps into it and switch out to 4 cabinets. Or maybe it was 4x2. And it just allowed you to, basically what you do is you plug all your amps into it, speaker out into this thing, and then you plug cabinets into it, right? A couple cabs, where you could plug, say, a load box on one of the outputs and a cabinet on the other one. And then you can select which amp you want to use into which cabinet. So you plug your guitar into the front of the thing. It's then input cables go out from it to all your amps, and speaker returns kind of come from all your amps into the thing. And then what it does is it's got a protection circuit in it, and you can switch between your amps. And so all the amps are on in your rack or whatever, and you can just go, okay, I want to hear this amp, this amp, this amp, this amp, and you just switch between them, and it switches. And you could say, okay, I want to hear this amp into that cabinet. So now you mix an 8x8, so you can do up to 8 cabinets and 8 amps. Really, really cool. And a lot of people use them and seem really happy with them. They seem really reliable. He's a smart guy. I know the guy now. Actually, I was just with him the other night. It was Dave Friedman's birthday party, and I sat and talked to him for a long time. So anyway, he's going to come bring one of those over pretty quick here and help me set it up. And I'm going to make a video with him, I think, actually, where he'll be talking about it and kind of describe it, because it's pretty neat. The goal being just kind of like, real quick, like in a track, you could listen to a bunch of amps, or like if I'm doing even a pedal demo and I'm like, I wonder what, I wonder what amps this pedal, ideally or most of the time in the past, I've just been, well, I'll use the PT100 on the clean channel, or I'll use the Bella, or I'll use my Fender Bassman or Vox or whatever. With this, I can try a pedal and then switch between up to 8 amps and go like, well, what's it sound like into this one and this one and this one and this one and this one? And instantly I'll actually have an idea like, oh, this works better into a Vox, or maybe not as good into a Fender or whatever. And I can maybe, incorporate that into video. It's like saying, well, I tried it into a bunch of different, or, even put it in the video, like here it is into this, here it is into this. I hadn't even actually thought of this till right now, but like one overdrive pedal into a Vox, a Fender, a Marshall style amp. And I could just go, listen to this, hit a chord, here's the Vox. Here's the Marshall, here's the Suhr, or whatever, and just quickly change. And then you guys will be able to like really hear like, oh, that's kind of like my amp there. So I know what it'll respond. It's just going to be cool, like having the amp switcher, make things efficient and just easy to do things like that. So anyway, let's see here. Ozark Guitar says, Pete, please stop answering so many gear questions. There are plenty of other personalities who fill that niche. It's boring for almost everyone, not a gearhead. Well, it has to be for you too. How many times can you compare load boxes and speaker caps? Well, that's what I do here on this thing, is we talk about guitars and gear. So I get your point. There's all kinds of people doing it, but I'm not bored. I'm actually not bored at all. I'm drinking coffee and doing what I like to do. So there. I find it odd though that you would say that, because like what else would we talk about on this? That's what we do. So it's like watching a TV show you don't like or something. Why am I watching this show? I never like what they talk about on this show, but I'm going to sit here and watch it anyway. I don't know. What else are we going to talk about? Okay, you ask a question then about music, or I don't know, something that you're interested in that's not gear related, and then I'll answer it. 57 Classics or Burstbucker Pros? Pickups, Alnico 2, 3, or 5. It's all cool. 57 Classics are Alnico 2, I believe. And they're even wind coils. They have a nice warm. I always like 57 Classics, but it's they don't have a shit ton of clarity. It's a nice pickup for anything from, like crunchy rock and roll, I think, through to hard stuff. Not a high output pickup, but it's got a warm kind of tone. So it can sound great into like a Marshall or something if you're doing like an edgy kind of part, but you want to warm it up a bit with the pickup, if that makes sense. Burstbucker Pros, a little more clarity on those to me. The Burstbuckers were the first Gibson pickers where it's like, oh, that's kind of sounding more like what I associate with maybe my old 335. First Gibson pickup in a long time is what I'm getting at. Jamie's in the top chat. He says, thanks for all you do. Your amps in the zone in particular have helped me out a ton. Thanks, man. Are you playing at Surf Factory Party in January? Do you know what the lineup is? I don't believe they're doing that this year, actually. So hearing new Big Rec stuff would be a treat. Yeah, Ian's actually, the new Big Rec's coming out soon, I think, or he's working on it now. I don't know how soon it'll be out, but they're recording. And what I've heard sounds amazing. He's posts teasers on his Instagram if you guys haven't checked it out. Ian's so outstanding. He's so great. But anyway, thanks, Jamie. Jamie was up in the top chat, and I do appreciate that. Did you get to play your new amp? Says Robert. I did. Yeah. I'm going out tomorrow actually to continue working on some stuff. So it's awesome. It's going to be great. So we're just dialing some stuff in. Just watched Sean Tubbs' home studio walkthrough. I want to watch that. I didn't know he did one. That's Tomo49. I got to check that out. He really has his workflow. Yeah, I should watch that actually, since maybe I can pick up a few tips since I'm putting mine together. I'd love to see. Yeah, I'm going to check that out. Thanks for mentioning that. Since I'm about to wire mine up and figure out some stuff. Finally got a patch bay, getting the amp switcher. Like everything's going to be better. So my studio is, you guys probably, maybe you can tell from the videos, but it was kind of disaster a lot of the time, like just a mess, because I can get that way. I can get kind of messy. When I'm working, I don't really see it or notice it, but cables and crap. But like right now, if I look at my floor, there's like way too much crap all over the place. So, I want it. I'm doing my best to try to get more and more organized the older I get. Yeah. I like my large dual diaphragm condenser microphone for acoustics. I do too. So the difference between, that's from Kurt, the difference between a large diaphragm condenser on acoustic and a small diaphragm is the small diaphragm sounds maybe a little less colored to me. It lends a little less of its own personality to the sound when you use a small diaphragm like a Cam 84, Cam 184, an AKG 451 or whatever they're called, something like that. The small diaphragm mics, they sound very accurate to me, like the guitar. The large diaphragm mic, it lends a color, a little bit more to me. And they respond a little slower or something. So for acoustic, it's just a different sound. It's like they sound a little bigger. When I think of the Beatles or something, acoustic guitars, I think they were recording through U47s a lot and had that, probably tube limiters and stuff. And it's got the, kind of it's not like the natural acoustic in the room kind of sound. It had a compression to it and a thickness and whatever, like a certain thing that the mic adds. So that's the way, and maybe that's just me being sort of naive to think that about all eyes. But when I think of large diaphragm mics, certainly tube large diaphragm mics, they'll lend a personality to the sound. So anyways, somebody else is in the top chat right now, and that's Christopher. He says, hi Christopher, thanks for doing the top chat thing. He says, thanks for all you do, helping us fellow X-Slingers. I appreciate that. Would you mind explaining the best way to use the Suhr ISO line out box? And is that the best way to set up a wet, dry, wet? It's certainly the way that I always did it. It's a great line out because it's got a phase reverse switch and it's also got a lift on it. And it's just, the pot's nice, the taper of it and stuff. So the way that you use it is if you're plugging your head into your speaker cabinet and then you want to do wet, dry, wet, you're going to plug it in between the head and the cabinet. So you'll plug output of the speaker out of the head into the Suhr line out box, output of the line out box into the dry cabinet, and then it's got a separate jack 1/4 inch, and you're going to come out of that into your effects or a mixer and effects. Okay, so it's just taking a tap off the speaker stand still have to plug in a cabinet when you use it. It's not any kind of load or anything like that, but it'll allow you to just tap the signal going into your dry cabinet and send some of that signal out to your effects units. And then you're going to plug in your effects and run those into, like I say, you can either do, that's a whole another discussion how you do that. You can use a mixer, or you could just go right into, say, an effect unit and then split stereo out of that into a power amp of some sort and go into 2 other cabinets for your wet signal. Or if you want to just do like a mono wet, dry, wet, just one. I hope that makes sense. It's a great unit though. Don't have no reservations about it. I've got a couple of them, and they're just great to have around for sending a signal to just about anything. You can use them for recording too. If you can mic and isolate a cab, or if you can have a cabinet plugged into your amp, say if you want to do home recording and you can have a cabinet plugged in, but you don't want to deal with miking and that kind of thing, you can use IRs and stuff in the computer very easily by using that Suhr line out box. Just take the line out of that and plug it into your recording interface. And then you could use like a, mix IR2 or something like that to load IR. Or you could run into something like an IR loader box or something like the Suhr Ace or whatever, then come out of that and go into your recorder. You just still have to have a cabinet plugged in though, right? So it's a useful thing to have around, the Suhr line out box. Okay. Demo for the Suhr reactive load IR. Yeah, something will be coming soon. Definitely. I will do that. Tim is in the top chat. Thank you, Tim. Let's talk holiday baking, not gear. Would you like to talk a little bit about bit depth and sample rate on your demos, what to use? I'm 24/48 with the way I record all the time. I just settled on that years ago, and it sounds fine to me. I recorded a couple songs on my record at 88.2, and the only reason was because of the drummer at the studio that I went to, and he has a studio. He started the sessions at 88.2, but it's a pain in the ass in a way. It uses more hard drive space and stuff. I don't really know. I've never done like a in-depth comparison. Most of the people I know record 24/48, and that's just what I do. It sounds fine to me. So I suppose at some point, if it'd be an interesting thing. Let's sit and record some clean guitar and dirty guitar and maybe some acoustic guitar or something. We'll do it at, 44.1, 48, 88.2, and 96. See if we can hear the difference, I've never done anything like that. So, but yeah, a couple of the songs on my record are at 88.2. And to be honest, they're not my favorite sounding ones. So it just depends on, a lot of factors. I'm stuffed up. I don't know why. What else we got here? Cashpour using a Mustang head says do not tilt, but would like to add AT JHS pedal. I think it can help to get a Timmins tone. It's a great sounding pedal, the Andy Timmins pedal. That's a really good distortion. Probably my favorite JHS pedal. So the Dirty Town, the song off my last record, that started out as the Andy Timmins pedal demo, actually. So if you want to listen to my take on it, but yeah, I think it sounds great. It was I think started out too as the Angry Charlie. It's really similar to that, which is based off a Marshall Governor style pedal, which is the Governor, going way back, is a great sounding distortion pedal, always was. Every time I see a vintage one, I kind of want to buy it. And then I'm like, I need another pedal. I need a hole in the head. So I don't. But I go through that exact same mental process that I just did with you in my head every time I see one. Takes about that long. It's about 6 or 7 seconds. I should buy it. No, I shouldn't. You don't need it like that. Do I sound hyper? It's this coffee. Thanks, Ernie Ball. Wait. I'm trying not to miss any questions here. Sorry, I'm so far behind. We got 367 people online, which is awesome. Nice to have you guys here. It's 11:51 a.m. I got to go in about 25 minutes. I'm going to go right to about an hour and 25 minutes, something like that. I got to split because I got to go relieve the painters from my new place. Okay. Yeah. Old Guy's Guitar says, isn't that what people are here for? To ask about gear recommendations? Kind of. Gear, or we can talk about anything. We can talk about music. We can talk about holiday baking if you want. But yeah, it seems like that's kind of the way that this little live stream has mostly gone, in the direction of gear. But we can talk about anything. Jerry says, question, do you set your head at 8 ohms and plug into the aux in one? Yeah, essentially, I won't go through the whole thing, but yeah, I just use the 8 ohm out on my head into the 8 ohm input on an aux, or same thing with reactive load. I use the 8 ohm because they're both 8 ohm. I guess the aux has, sorry, the aux, you can switch the ohmage, can't you? Yeah, I use 8. I use 8 all the time. Then I don't have to reach behind the head, and like, because I'm using the reactive load all the time. It's 8 ohms, and my Suhr cabs are 8 ohms. So I find myself just kind of working at 8 ohms all the time. Okay. Could you talk a little bit about stacking delays to emulate the VH1 studio sound? You don't really need to. I find just one delay at 300 milliseconds is the Ain't Talking About Love. Is that what you're talking about, Van Halen Studio? You're not just talking about that one sound, though, are you? He just varied that. You know, the Echoplex had a slightly different. If you listen to it on Fire, right in the chorus, it's got a certain delay time, and it's not the same as Ain't Talking About Love, but it's in the ballpark. So I think the Echoplex was just on all the time and blended in at different levels depending on the song. So it really is about having that tape delay in front of the amp, and that's it. And then just kind of listening to the songs, and kind of you get used to the, oh, okay, there it is, right there, about there, you know, and you just set it. Tom says you're super generous with your time. Thank you, man. He's up in the top chat. I appreciate that. What would you do if you weren't a musician? I think maybe I'd been a doctor, and it probably would have been more lucrative. But I'm kind of interested in that. Like, yeah, I think maybe I would have been a doctor or science. I was always into space, and you know, maybe I'd be working with SpaceX or something, something like that. But yeah, maybe I would have gone into that. Let's see. I kind of, I missed out. I feel like there's a part of me that feels like I missed going to college, and all my peers sort of went off to the University of Alberta or whatever in Edmonton, and did that, and I moved to LA and just started playing. And the grass is always greener. It's like, oh, that would have been a cool experience. I didn't have that, but meanwhile I was down here, like, on Sunset Boulevard or wherever I was in the early 90s. Let's see, what's next? Are pickups really that different? That's a great question. That's Rudis. Are pickups really that different or subtle and nuanced? It can be subtle, like many times when you replace a pickup, it takes a minute to get it out of the guitar or you take it to the tech and he changes out your pickup, puts in another one. And it's like, is there really that much difference? But you tell yourself there is. You plug it in, you go, oh yeah, I hear the, and maybe it's not that much different, I think. Yeah, it's a really great question because it's a hard thing to swap right quickly. The only way to do it would be the way to do it scientifically would be to record a guitar part into a looper with one pickup. Wait, would that work? No, that wouldn't work. Yeah, no, sorry, that wouldn't work. See, you caught me. I was going to say record into the looper, but you can only do that with trying different pedals and amps. That's not going to work. How the hell would you do it so that you could? I don't know. You just have to play the same thing, like with and record, through the exact same amp settings and stuff with a guitar, and try and play as much as you can. But even your pick attack changes a little bit when you play something twice, right? And so then, this one's a little brighter. Is really, or did you just have your hand a little closer to the bridge? So it's hard to tell. I mean, I definitely hear. Okay, when we were doing the Thornbucker, as soon as you switch magnets and stuff like that, it's like, because we had a couple identical guitars that were as close as you could get with all the same specs, and then comparing the different pickups. So like an SSV to a Thornbucker, it's different. It's like the magnet makes the Thornbucker in the bridge, the Alnico 4 as opposed to a 5. It sounds a little warmer, the mids come up a little bit, and the lows and the highs are not quite as, an Alnico 5 magnet has got a little more on the top end, which can be cool for some things, but it can be a little shrill or whatever in a lower output pickup for some other things. So there's definitely differences, and the second you do the offset wind, like mismatch the coils like 5%, man, if we went beyond 5% with the mismatched coils, the pickup sounded kind of unusably weird to me. And then, as soon as you just mismatch them a little, it's like, there it is. It sounds cool. So, learn by doing. But are the Gil Yaron Les Paul style guitars really that much better than a good Les Paul style? like Nags, Suhr Aura. Well, you got to take each guitar on its own. You know, each one is an individual thing. But I'll tell you, when I got Gil's, the first one I got, you hear it in the video I did for his guitar way back when. It was like, oh my God, like I pulled it out of the case, and first of all, the neck and stuff, the way it's, you know, a lot of the stuff coming out of Gibson just didn't feel. First of all, they use these plasticizers and stuff in the lacquer. I don't know about now. I think they got closer, like around 2014, things started getting better. But like I've got a 2009 R9, really nice guitar, looks great, sounds good. Gil's guitar just kind of walks all over it. I mean, it's a good guitar, and sometimes I play that R9. I go, oh, this is nice, you know, it's a good guitar. But Gil's guitar was like, when I pulled it out, it felt like an old one. It's this intangible thing. You pick it up, and it's not just like a, you know, that whatever he's doing with the lacquer is really thin. It feels like lacquer on an old guitar as opposed to the newer ones have this slightly sticky kind of like thing. I don't know. And I've been told, oh, they use plasticizers in the lacquer, whatever that means. You know, and then the necks are like, my 2009 R9 has a pretty cool neck, and it's not that fat and crazy, but there's something Gil does with the shoulder. I had an old, you know, I have a 54 that I sold like an idiot. Like, I so wish I had that guitar, but I've owned a 50s Les Paul, and it had that great neck that was just like, many of them between 54 and 57 had this slight V going on. Not all of them, because they were really inconsistent, but I've played a number that had a neck like mine, and it was just had this little bit of V thing with the back of the shoulders were a little less shoulder on the neck, and then this slight, and it's inconsistent up the neck, you know, because they were done by hand, and it's like there's a little bit of, you know, my old Strat is like that, by the way, which is right here. Okay, I'm gonna get this guitar. They're all kind of like inconsistent. This guitar has, I wonder, I mean, you can almost see it, like in the way the light reflects off the neck, the inconsistency in the, you see that? Like here, see how it's a little flatter right here? And it's like, there's just a little bit of, and you can almost see the V going on this guitar too. This has a very similar thing to actually my 50s Les Paul, my memory. It's not a perfect shape in the back. It's not totally uniform all the way up the neck, you know? So this is 64, and certainly my Telly too my Telly is actually kind of a weird neck. It's slightly, maybe not the best neck in the world, because it's a little fatter down here, and then it kind of flattens out up here. And I think that was something they almost were doing around that point in the 60s, like left the neck a little fatter in this area, and then it was getting thinner up there, which is a little strange. Generally, you think like the neck kind of starts at one thing and then maybe gets a little fatter as it goes. I don't know. But yeah, you know, I don't know. Gil's guitar when I pick up this guitar, Gil's guitar, when I pick up, it feels similar. It's a different, it's a Strat and all that, but you know what I mean? The old thing, like it's the hand thing, like the finish by hand with the old lacquer, and that's what he was going for. He's like, he told me, I go, well, what do you think about the like things like bridge saddles and tunamatics, and like, should I, you know, is one thing, like, why did you choose the bridge that you used on your guitar with the wire and everything? He goes, dude, here's the thing with these guitars. I wasn't trying to do like the nylon nut. I go, what do you think of the nylon nut? Like, why wouldn't you put a bone? He goes, I was trying to make it exactly like the old one, like down to every single detail. He goes, it's not about it being better or worse. Like, it could be that, you know, you might do something on a modern guitar that I think in his modern designs, you can see what he thinks things could be better. You know, his pickups are different and stuff like that, and the type of bridge he uses. Now you're seeing what he thinks is an optimized version of those old guitars. But in the replicas he made, it's every detail done exactly as close as he could possibly figure out to the way the originals are done. So so for instance, the plasticizers and the lacquer thing, not to go on and on with this, you know, the plasticizers and the lacquer, you know, that would not be something that he would consider doing. That's a modern thing that Gibson, or the, you know, the truss rod condom and all that stuff they used for a long time. You know, now Gibson's gotten closer and closer, I think, with the way that they the way that they do things now. But you know, it's Gil's goal was to, he's like, I'm not gonna scrimp. I'm not gonna, you know, if he couldn't get, if there was like the pickup rings or the switch tip, if it wasn't exactly the same as the old ones, he wouldn't just buy like a new available one. He had them made. That's why the guitars are expensive, you know, because it was like every little detail he was trying to replicate, and he literally had to, like, you know, different plastic, you know, parts for the, you know, you'd have to have figure out somebody that made them like the old ones. So there's something magic about them for sure. That's my real long-winded way of saying that. What are the best distortion pedals for lead tone? That's from Daniel. I mean, that's really a complicated question. You know, it depends if your amp is clean or if you're more talking about layering a pedal on top of an already dirty sound, and what's right for you. I mean, the best distortion for lead tone might be a Big Muff if you're trying to do David Gilmour, but if you're trying to do, you know, something in front of a Marshall that's more like a you know, Steve Lukather or something like that kind of tone's a different thing. So it really depends. My favorite lead tone personally, what I do is I do an Archer, you know, Klon style into a Marshall style sound, which is my PT100, generally speaking. And that's my favorite kind of most used, you know, way to solo with a high gain sound. If you're talking about getting a great, you know, just distortion sound out of a pedal, there's all kinds of way to do it. Yeah, Mike says, holy crap, those Gilliarns are expensive. They are, but actually they're not really that different than what some of the custom shop historic stuff is. You know, they are expensive though, but it's one guy building the guitar, right? In like a garage or what? Well, he's got a better shop now, I think. But consider that his wife is winding the pickups, or his daughter, I think. No, I can't remember. But and then, like I say, the plastic part, you know, it puts a lot of time. It's a different thing, you know. It's not a guitar that's made even in a factory like a Gibson historic, you know. It's a guitar that's made by one guy that is, you know, supporting his family by making these things, and he puts a hell of a lot of time. I mean, I saw you think about how much money you need to make a living these days, you know, and it's like I saw the process along and how long it was taking, and he builds maybe like 4 or 5 guitars at a time. He's working on different builds for different people, and he'd be sending me photos, updates all the way along. And so you're seeing the amount of work and the amount of time it's taking him to build the guitars reflected in these photos that, you know, over the course of months that I would be getting from him. You're like, okay, this is like I'm about to do floors in my new place, and I'm going to spend what, you know, it's like what a Gilliarn guitar costs almost, right? And the guy's going to do it in 3 days. You know, but that's just what it costs. It seems like labor for, you know, it's like, that's just what it costs. Right? And I got to get it done. So it's like, okay, I guess I got to do this for the right material that I want. And for the, you know, you want something done right, you got to pay for it. That's it. And I think maybe it's just difficult these days for folks. We're all getting used to wanting a lot for nothing, you know, like the TVs that you can get now. You walk in Best Buy and it's like, holy shit, look at that TV. It looks amazing. It's $400. You know, a TV like that used to be, that's all probably going to change with the tariffs and everything. But that's the other thing with the floors, you know, tariffs, man. So I'm trying to get it done before January 1st, because that's a real thing that's happening. Everything's going to go up. Anyway, I digress. But Tom says, Pete, you're a special human being. Thank you, dude. Can't thank you for all your inspiration and heart. You're too kind, dude. Thanks. He's up in the talk chat. You're very nice. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. I basically, when it comes, just one more thought on that, I don't mind paying people that are the best to do the job. If that's Gil building a guitar, or if it's, you know, the guy that's going to put my floor in, I want it done right. When it's something I'm going to live with for a long time. I love quality stuff. I just grew up loving quality stuff. My dad was a meticulous guy, you know, with the way that he did things. He ran a tight ship. I don't know how many people out there know this, but my father was a Ford dealer. So he had a car dealership in Canada, and it was impeccable and spotless. And the way that he conducted his business and ran his business, and, you know, expected his employees to be and stuff like that, there was a real, he was just an impeccable guy. You know, everything was always just so, almost maybe to the point of a little OCD, you know, but a lot of that rubbed off on me. I'm not as organized as he was, that's for sure. And stuff like that. But his love of quality, you know, and it's also what I like about John Suhr so much. That's a big part of what I bonded with Suhr and the guitars. You know, it's like, he's not willing to, you know, I'll give you an example. I mean, we're talking with new amps and stuff like that, like, you know, transformers. Can we go to smaller transformers to make amps smaller? Can we do this? And he's like, I'm not going to, like, no, like this, I'm only willing to do so many things in order to, because, you know, things like dealers are always asking for less expensive. They want to compete with stuff that's coming from overseas and stuff like that. it's just I don't think you're ever really going to see too much of that coming from him because he's just not that kind of guy. You know, he wants it done right, quality, tight tolerances. You know, I drive a German car because I love the quality. You know, supposedly, I mean, I always heard these stories like BMW, so you can take a quarter and balance it on the engine, you know, and rev the car up to like 7,000 RPMs, and that quarter will stand up. It's not going to, you know, it's going to fall over. Try that on cars made just anywhere else. Just about anywhere else, you know. I like impeccable stuff that's done to tight tolerances and done right. And so, like, the idea of commissioning a guitar, it's not for everybody, but the idea of getting a guitar from somebody like Gil that goes to that kind of length of, you know, watch the Gil Yaron Tim and Pete show that we did. It's I don't know if a lot of people watch that one or not, but listen to the story he tells about going to the Gibson factory in Kalamazoo and interviewing the guys there and spending time with them about the amount of detail that he wanted to, you know, go into with learning about how those old Gibsons were built in the 50s and stuff. He's an interesting guy. With his mind is, you know, I like the way his mind works. You know, he's trying to do a different thing than John, very different, you know, with building his guitars in the way that he goes about it. But there's a similarity there with an appreciation for, you know, there's just this, you know, it's about quality, and I just love that. So anyway, I'm going off today, but have I had any regrets? And any regrets done where you're satisfied with the results can sometimes change the feel, and you can lose edges of the neck. Sorry, I don't understand that question. That's from Oscillation Overdrive. You're asking about, have you had any? Oh, I think you're asking if I've had refrets done, but it's spelled out regrets. Have you had any refrets done where you're satisfied with the results? Can sometimes change the feel. Yeah, a refret is a sticky thing. You know, you got to be careful. Most of them I've been lucky and happy with. But know that if you go to a bigger fret, for example, it can feel like your action's higher, because it actually is. It's a little higher off the neck, right? But it's the same height to the fret if you set it up the same. But it can change the whole feel of the guitar a little bit. It can throw you off a little. So just, you kind of have to be aware of that. And pick a good person. Excuse me, burping. I've been lucky with my refrets, though. I mean, in LA, there's lots of good techs. So it's like, you know, make sure you get somebody with a, you know, refret's a big deal. It's like you got to get somebody with a great reputation. What would I recommend for a first Tele style guitar? That's from Ivan. Well, it just depends what price range you're looking in, I guess. I would say for Teles, I mean, yeah, it just depends on kind of what, you know, which, you know, you could be looking for a $300 guitar. You could be looking for a $2,500 guitar. If it's a first Tele style guitar, you know what I would do if you want to get one is find one of those made in Mexico 50s or 60s Fenders. You know, 50s Tele or 60s Tele, whatever they call them recently. There should be a ton of them out there used that you could find for probably in the sub $500 range. And just see if there's one in your area you can play, and pick one of those up. That'd probably be a good way to go. And maybe it sounds great right out of the box. Maybe you just want to do some tweaks, change the pickups or something. But those guitars are pretty cool. Chris is saying the Fender Baja is a nice T. I think that's probably a made in Mexico, I would think, right? Probably. Let's see here. Gotta just ban somebody real quick. Jacob, you're out of here. See ya. Okay. Moving down. I lost my place in the chat here completely, guys. So I'm gonna go towards the end because I gotta go in we've got about 19 minutes. Then I gotta split. I'm going to start right here with Ruta Singh. And sorry if I missed any of your questions, as always. Do I have any advice on taking the finish off a Les Paul neck? I probably wouldn't do it, not me personally. If I was going to do it, I would have a tech do it, and you'd probably want to oil it. Mahogany, it's a little, I don't know. You might ask a tech or a luthier about this, but mahogany is not the same to me as maple. Like, I've got no problems with unfinished necks, but most people if you don't have a finish on a neck, a lot of people won't warranty, or, like John's pretty hardcore about he likes having finish on things. And I'm like, well, my old Jackson didn't, but maple's one thing. It's like kind of more, to me, it's a little bit hardier. Mahogany is real porous and kind of a different, my mahogany neck guitars always move more, by the way, like truss rods need more adjusting and stuff. Something about leaving it unfinished. I just don't know if I would do that unless it's a maple neck Les Paul. Then it'd probably be pretty cool, like one of those 70s, Les Paul customs. Which can be cool, by the way. Like the maple neck on a Les Paul kind of has this harder kind of. It's cool for some stuff, like that Adam from Tool, doesn't he have one of those? Like it's that silver burst Les Paul that's a custom. But that guitar's got maple neck on it for sure. For some stuff, I think it can be cool, like heavy distortion, hard rock kind of Les Paul tone. Those maple neck customs. It's an interesting thing. It's a different sound for sure. And yeah, I've played some of them and the finish is all gone on the neck. And it's kind of neat. Yeah, oscillation overdrive said refrets. Yes. Stupid spell check. Yeah, refrets. Definitely had refrets done. I got with somebody I liked in LA that did my old Strat, for example, and that was a tough job because the fingerboard's kind of thin, so you got to be careful with the fret tanks. I always recommend Eric at Lush Guitars, which is at Tour Supply in LA, if you're anywhere around LA. A lot of people talk about Joe Glazer, right? Or who else? Tuttle. There's some names for refrets. Okay. Have you ever played a Marshall Vintage Modern? That's from Odin Stan. Yes, I have. And I thought it was a pretty good sounding amp. I remember quite liking it. KT66 is different kind of thing, but really cool. Victory preamps pedals. Philippe is asking me. So somebody approached me recently, Mick from that pedal show. He has something to do with him. He wanted me to check out some of those Victory pedals. So I think I might do that. I think that's going to happen. I haven't tried them yet though. So, but that'll probably be coming. Okay. Victor says, this is awesome stuff. I know you've put up a list of the gear you used to broadcast live. Could I share that again, please? I don't actually really use it. Okay, so I'm using right now this Samson microphone called the G-Track Pro. And then I just use Google Chrome. That's it, which works great. I'm streaming live right out of Chrome right now. I used to use OBS, but this works way better. People seem to like it much better. Folks seem to say that it sounds better, looks better, and all that when you're, it's just kind of flawless. So I like it. I also have an Audio Technica mic that, where the heck is it? Well, it's way down there. A 2020 USB. I quite like this as well. This is great. So either the Audio Technica or the Samson, really nice. Both around the similar price range, I think. Samson might be a little bit more. Let's see here. Somebody's up in the top chat. Corey's up in the top chat. Thank you, sir. He says, love your videos. How does the PRS Silver Sky played compare to your vintage Strat? The feel and playability. That's a good question. I'd have to put them back to back. I really like the sound of that guitar. The Silver Sky guitar has a great, like the in-between sounds are super quacky and fun. I remember it just kind of being fun to play. It's, vintage radius is really different on picking up PRS and having that on a Strat. You kind of expect it, and on that guitar, I didn't. Even though I knew it had it, like so you pick it up and you go, oh yeah, it's really like got that 7.5 or whatever. We got 450 people online. That's awesome. Lots of you guys here. So I'll go for another 15 minutes or so. Thanks for joining. But yeah, the Silver Sky, fun guitar, good sound. If you're the type of person that can deal with that radius, I would have no qualms or reservations about recommending that guitar. I thought it sounded great and was fun to play. Really, really cool tones. And I know John's proud of it. Yeah. Let's see here. Moving down. Steven says, being a doctor isn't as lucrative as it was back in the 80s and 90s. I guess it depends on what kind of doctor you are, right? SoCal is expensive. Yes, it is expensive. Yeah. Live poor equals about $38 an hour. I would say that that's about right. Yeah. To live in Southern California, for anybody that doesn't know, I just have come to realize you kind of, just to be comfortable, just like a single person or whatever without kids, I would recommend that you make at least, it's like $85,000 a year. You kind of have to. That's just how it is here. Really, it's like $100K. It's like, in order to live comfortably and have the things that you want, stuff, just kind of baseline, like a decent place to live, and to be able to just get in the game as far as buying a home and stuff like that. It's $100K a year. You need to, it's a tough place to live, but it's Southern California. The weather's great. There's a lot of options. You can drive to the mountains and be up there one day and be at the beach the next day, and it's great. I still love it. It's sometimes I wonder why I'm here, anymore. Like, I wonder, is what I came here for still here? But grass is always greener. Then you leave for a while and you go, wow, there's great things about California. I miss it, So anyway, let's see here. Solar Guitar Studio says, I do floors. Looking for the next question. No compromises, big iron, big tone, says Matt. I agree. We were talking about Transformers earlier. Yeah. Excellent work ethic rubbed off on you. That's that's from Mr. Reno. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that's my pop. He really had work ethic. I'll tell you that. He was always the first guy to get to work and the last guy to leave. That's for sure. And I for sure, grew up, even though I went a completely different route in my life with music, that you're always trying to, make your folks proud and all that. So there was an element of that where I was like, there was also an element where I had to prove myself because he didn't understand, he was a great guy, but he didn't, me playing guitar was till I hit 30 or 31 or 32 when I finally said, I had this talk with him where he was kind of like, he's like, well, when are you gonna, what's gonna happen if this doesn't work out or whatever? And I'd already been on, I don't know, like the Tonight Show like 10 times and done, with different. I was touring all over the place and playing with big artists and stuff. And finally, I took him out for breakfast and I said, Dad, for better or for worse, I'm a professional musician. That's it. Like, I don't know how to do anything else, and we're two grown-ups now. Like, I'm you're whatever you are, and I'm 32, and this is it. Like, you got to accept it, and I'm good at what I do, So. And he kind of, it was actually great. Everything kind of changed after that moment. I just kind of, said, this is what I'm going to do, and I'm going to do good at it. And so I'm going to do the best I can, and it's working out pretty good. So just let me roll with it, and he got it after that, I think. But I learned a lot from him, though. Can you tell us about the Suhr SE100? The SE100 is that the Doug Aldrich kind of thing? It's the higher gain. I don't want to misquote. I think it's similar to John's, kind of like the Crunch mod. It's his own take on sort of gain stage in front of a classic Marshall circuit, I believe. You'd probably best ask John, though, the details and what the difference is in sound. John likes really full distortion. He doesn't like to, one thing he's great at this is not trimming too much bass out of the front end of a design. He likes it to be full and very like a real full range kind of thing. Sometimes I like a little less bass than he likes. So my guess is that it'd be real full with lots of gain and, a real broad kind of modern sort of distortion. Sometimes I lean a little bit more towards and you'll find this in the PT100. I think it's probably a little leaner in the front end, which translates to maybe a little tighter. So that's my take on the SE100. But I don't really. I should play through it and just make sure that I know what I'm talking about. David says, I love it when you pull apart a Strat to tweak it and you see a Craftsman signature. Yeah. like the date on the inside of the neck on my guitar with this, even just a stamp or whatever and that kind of stuff. I love seeing that, like thinking, oh man, that's cool. This thing was assembled in, you know, November 64 or whatever. So, yeah. Okay. Moving down. Somebody mentioned I have a KOT on my board. That's true. I don't now, but at different times I've put it back on and off. That's a great pedal for sure. King of Tone. L. Scott Music is here. He does floors too. He's awesome. He says, but then I've always undervalued my work. Sorry, I'm missing out on the first part of the discussion. I've never made 100K a year, but more like half that, but one finds a way. Yeah. I mean, it depends where you live, you know. Southern California, for sure, you could, I mean, you know, because I've been faced with this recently, like, where are you going to buy? You know, there's things you can do, but it's tough, man. Like, I don't know, 50, I couldn't personally do it with what I want to do and where I want to live. I think I need to make more than, you know, 50 would be tough for me. I don't know. But I mean, if you can do it, there's always ways, right? I mean, different people are probably much better at budgeting than I am. You know, that's the thing. I'm not the most together when it comes to that. I think it takes a certain kind of personality and being, you know, it takes discipline for sure. Leon says, does your Hedgehog clean up well when you roll back your guitar volume? Mine doesn't clean up much. Still love it, but wondering if that's normal. It's got an overdrive circuit in it, you know, so you're probably talking about with the overdrive on, right? It's essentially, I'm not 100% sure, you'd have to ask John, and I don't know where it falls in the preamp, but it's not really like it's a Dumbly style overdrive that it's not really like having a pedal because it's in the amp and running at high amp voltages and all that stuff, but it's probably not dissimilar to something like that. You know, it's an overdrive circuit that's built into the amplifier, similar, you know, to Dumble style drive. So it's not going to be quite the same as having like an old school plexi or something that really cleans up when you roll the volume back. It's a different kind of thing, and that's what gives you that kind of, you know, liquidy kind of gain, different sound. Moving down. Let's see here. Pete, I have to practice through low volume studio speakers. Do you have a preference in speakers? I really like a few different. I've got Dyne Audios here, which I like a little bit better. I like the Adams. I just like that the sound of the Atom or Adam or Adam or however you say it. I just kind of grew accustomed to that a number of years ago when I got my first pair of A7s, and so the H7 is really nice. They're a little bit on the pricey side. I mean, they're similar price to Dyne Audios, but they'd be $1,500 for a pair, maybe 16. Great sounding speakers. Look no further, I would say. But you can get A5s, a little bit smaller ones, or they've got a cheaper line now too. And you might want to just see if you can go to a Guitar Center or something and listen, because I think they have them all there, and compare. I like the Adams a lot. Yeah, I will have to A/B with the small condenser, says Kurt. Yeah, I mean, the small condenser, they're fast. They respond quick. We were talking about acoustic guitar mics earlier. They respond real quick. And they have a very sort of natural, unhyped sound to me, whereas a large diaphragm mic lends a little bit more color to the tone. That's my experience with miking acoustic guitars with either small or large diaphragm microphones. Got a split pretty soon, you guys. It's 12:26. I'll go in about 5 minutes. How's the soundproofing working out in the new studio, says Lando? Really good. It's not, you know, I did a single 2x6 wall with 2 layers of drywall on one side and 3 layers of drywall on the other side, loaded, packed with rock wool in the middle. And the drywall's all got green glue in the middle. In retrospect, I mean, I almost wish I'd sort of opted on the one long wall that I had to build to do a dual 2x4 wall with the air gap, but it would have been probably a little more expensive. I don't think it's fine. I think it's going to work out great. I'm trying to isolate myself from the rest of the building a little bit and other noise and stuff that's going on. The reality is there's a guy that's in there that has a studio as well, and he's got an ISO closet that we're going to revisit and change some things anyway. But when he's in there blasting away, and I mean playing an amp kind of full tilt, it's a ways separated from my room, but I can still hear it in my room, but it's not bad. I can sit, I think I'm going to be fine actually with it, as long as it's not like crazy loud. I think I'm cool with even just what I'm hearing is just what's left is low end coming through the wall, just a little bit of, subby low stuff. So it's pretty good. Worked out good. I think I could have almost eliminated that with the double 2x4 wall, but it's not too bad. Amidio says, you are a class act all the way, Pete. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Thanks. And Simon says, buying in California today feels like buying into a Ponzi scheme. Yeah, I can relate. I mean, I just did it. So it's a little like, really? Like, okay, like it's a tough pill to swallow because it's like, what am I getting into here? But if you look at it, it just kind of, even the crash, most of my friends that in 2008, that had bought places, they just wrote it out, and it really wasn't that, like, they were pretty rocking by, 2011, 12, 13. Everybody's like, well, yeah, I'm cool. Like, nobody was too far underwater or anything like that. As far as I can tell, nothing like, like Vegas or something where it was like, oh my God, like the bottom fell out and whole neighborhoods were left empty and all that. Like that just didn't happen here. So it feels like a pretty safe investment. I couldn't imagine living in LA and having kids due to the cost of living, says Steven. A lot of people these days are like families. I've talked to a lot of people that are just moved up to Santa Clarita or that kind of thing. If you want a house and it's like, that's what you want, and you've got kids, you need the space anyway, you want a yard. It's like you can go, basically it's probably from right here for 40 minutes or something, 35-minute drive maybe. And it's more affordable. There's still ways you can do it out here. I looked out there. It's just it's a little too far for me and a little too suburban. I've come to realize I'm a city kind of person. I like being around stuff I can walk to. It's important to me to be able to just go out and leave my car parked and we'll walk and go get something to eat or coffee and stuff like that, and walk to the grocery store and stuff. So I need to be in a city, at least at this point. Robert Baker's here. What's up, Robert? He says he wants to try a PT100 at NAMM. Robert, building that desk soon. I'm going to have the same desk as you. Argosy desk for the studio. Well, I just looked online, says Kurt, the AKG C414 is no longer available. Sweetwater lists it as the world's most popular studio mic. I think they didn't discontinue a 414. I don't know. I don't think that's true. I haven't heard anything about that. You could be right, though. I could be wrong. I never liked the 414, to be honest. It's not my favorite. It always sounded kind of edgy to me. Just kind of, it's not my favorite studio mic. It was like the thing to get for a long time. Like, oh, you want a good mic for $800? A 414. Everybody had one for vocal. It was like the Project Studio condenser that was kind of like mid-level. It was like, ooh, it's a real studio mic. But I was always like, really? Like, I don't like this thing very much. Matter of fact, I remember trying this thing. This was my first condenser mic that I still have. It's a Groove Tubes GT55. Probably people out there bought this thing. And I remember trying this thing in the store next to a 414 going, okay, I want to listen to how this sounds compared to the classic 414 that everybody seems to love so much. And I like this more in this. It was $199, I think. And I remember just ABing them and going, on my voice, like just with the headphones on in GC or whatever, I was like, I think I like this GT55 more. So I got that thing and I ended up using it for years. It's a decent mic. Thoughts on Laney amps? God, I almost bought an original. That's from Glenn. I almost bought an original Laney. What's the Plexi one? The Super Group or something? Yeah. I literally went to the store with the money. It was like, okay, I'm getting this thing. And it was gone. Somebody had bought it an hour earlier, but I'd played through it. It was like, it sounded incredible. Like a what you would, imagine a Plexi. Great Plexi. It was 100 watts. It was a lot of shit and it sounded amazing. Anyway, guys, I got to run. So Adam T7V or a new
company, Cali. I don't know about that. Asking about studio monitors. The T7V must be the cheaper Adams, I think. Don't know too much about that one. But I've seen them in center. I just haven't listened to them. I know they're like a lower price line that they've done. They probably sound pretty damn good. I just like that ribbon tweeter in the Adams. They sound really just kind of what I want to hear. I don't know. You guys, thanks so much. And I'll see you next week. Next week will probably be maybe one of the last ones that I'll do in this room. And then I'll be in my new place and have the studio set up. Somebody asked me if I'm going to do a live stream coming up from the studio. I probably will go to the studio and do it just because it would be cool to do it there sometimes. And but then there'll be times I'll be in my new place and I'll probably be too lazy to get up and go to the studio on Sunday mornings. So yeah, I'll mix it up. I'll do it from home and the new studio. L Scott Music says, that's Lauren says everyone's talking about the Calis. Yeah, I haven't tried those. I haven't heard of them, but I do want to try them. If you say they're cool, man, you know what's up. I should try them. All right, guys, take care. Thanks for joining in. And I say, have a great week.